Hey everybody, it's Eric, your friendly sports nut, and this is Sports Nut News. On today's show, I'd like to talk to you guys about an update on the NHL. So recently, in a previous video, I discussed the NHL Restart plans, laid out everything in regards to the draft lottery, the restart, the training camps, the 24-team tournament, and all that. So please check that video if you're interested. So what I'd like to talk to you guys about today is Gary Bettman coming out within the last couple days and saying, I'm well aware that over 50% of the NHLers are not in their current NHL cities. This could cause an issue and a delay in restarting the season and doing this 24-team tournament, just strictly because depending on which city they have to go to for a camp or a training or whatever, it could cause them to have to do a 14-day quarantine. Now, I personally think if the NHL comes out this week or next week, as it's rumored, and decides on the two hub cities out of the list of 10 or so that they talked about previously, and verify and solidify the hub cities, it will make things a lot easier because those players that are not in their current NHL cities can say, I'm going to fly to that hub city, I'm going to quarantine myself for 14 days if they have to at that point, get tested, all that stuff, and then meet up with my team and start training camp. Now, they've talked that training camp should start approximately July 10th, so we'll see how quickly these teams and these players will get back and get everything rolling, and hopefully the NHL restart will actually happen and won't drag on and on and on. So, another big thing that the NHL has coming up next week is the Hockey Hall of Fame induction class of 2020 announcement. So, because of coronavirus and all this stuff, obviously it won't be as big as it usually is. Obviously, the ceremony is usually not till later in the year in like November, but the induction class, making the phone calls and letting people know who's going to be in it, is obviously a big deal. So it will be broadcast Wednesday, June 24th, so next Wednesday, a week from tonight, at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So some of the names that have popped up as potentials of being added to the Hockey Hall of Fame this year are the following. Jarome Iginla, it's his first year of eligibility. Marian Hossa in his first year of eligibility. Then you have second year of eligibility for Patrick Elias. Third for Sergei Gonchar. Fourth for a guy like Daniel Alfredsson. Come on, Alfie, we want you in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Let's go. The eighth year that he's eligible for Rod the Bod Brindamore. You have the 9th year for Jeremy Roenick and Curtis Joseph are another couple names that have popped up, as well as some of the ones that have been around for a little bit longer eligibilities, 10 plus years, of Pierre Turgeon, Alexander McGillney, and Theo Fleury. I personally would love to see Alfredsson in, obviously for Sens fan reasons. I do think that he should be in, whether it's this year or next year or a couple years down the road. But the problem is, the longer he waits and the longer he doesn't get in, it's going to be harder and harder for him to get in because some of the names that are coming up in the future are going to be tough to beat out. And that's why like a guy like Jarome Iginla and even Marian Hossa may get the nod this year over a guy like Alfredsson, especially Hossa. He's got multiple cups. Yes, he had to retire or whatever early because of medical conditions, but I mean, he's eligible now and he deserves it. He had one hell of a career before it was cut short, way too short and way too early by a medical issue. Now, the other thing I'd like to talk to you guys about is the draft lottery. That is coming up next Friday, June 26th, approximately 8 p.m. Talk says it will be all over SportsCenter and TSN and all that, obviously. So, as discussed in a previous video, there will be a kind of a different setup for the draft lottery this year. We don't know the full 15 teams that are eligible. So, the bottom 7 that didn't make it into the 2014 playoffs are Detroit, Ottawa, San Jose, LA, Anaheim, New Jersey, and Buffalo. Now, all those teams have their option and their eligibility and their percentage already designated for the draft lottery. The teams that are after those are going to be seeded as teams A through H based on who gets eliminated in that 24-team first round, the qualifying round, whatever you want to call it. So every team in that qualifying round will obviously have a chance. If you get eliminated in that qualifying round, you may even get a top 3 pick, let's say. So there will be 3 separate lotteries, one for the 3rd overall, one for the 2nd overall, and one for the 1st overall. Now, Detroit has an 18.5% chance of getting first. Ottawa has a 13.5% chance. San Jose, which the pick belongs to Ottawa as well, 11.5%. LA's is 9.5%. Anaheim 8.5%. New Jersey 7.5%. And Buffalo 6.5%. So all of these teams obviously want to try and win the draft lottery, whether it be 1, 2, or 3. I personally think the field this year is going to be so stacked that the top 10 will obviously all be really good picks. Now, that being said, some of them may take a little bit longer, but you could see a lot of these top 10 picks in the NHL within a year or maybe even 2. So if by chance a team that's seeded A through H happens to win one of these draws, then what will happen is there will be a phase 2 of the NHL Draft Lottery, which will be decided at a later date, and that'll be a situation where they basically say, okay, all of these teams that missed the playoffs or got eliminated in this qualifying round will have an equal shot at that said pick. But if all 3 picks go to one of the bottom 7 teams, there won't have to be a second phase. Now, obviously, as a Sens fan, I'm really hoping that Ottawa gets like 1st and 2nd or 1st and 3rd or even 2nd and 3rd, something like that. But if they end up, I mean, the worst they can realistically end up is, 5th and 6th as an absolute worst. And that's not a bad situation to be in right now. I'm hoping and praying, and I will be on the edge of my seat that night, hoping that we get Alexis Lafreniere, because that would help our franchise immensely. Now, speaking of Lafreniere, he is obviously ranked number 1 by pretty much everybody. So unless somebody decides to walk up to the podium and at the NHL draft and go, yeah, with the 1st overall pick, we'll pick so-and-so instead of Lafreniere, I think he's pretty much guaranteed to be number 1. So I'm going to go through some of the names that you may hear in that top 10. So the top 10, the lists may change depending on who you talk to and whose list it comes out with. But the one that I saw, which is on Tankathon, which is where I do my draft lottery simulator every so often just to kind of see for fun where Ottawa ends up. Anyways, the rankings would be number 1, Alexis Lafreniere, Canadian, plays with Rimouski Oceanic. Number 2, Quentin Byfield, Sudbury Wolves, Canadian as well. Number 3, Tim Stützle from Germany in Mannheim. Number 4, Lucas Raymond from Frölunda, Swedish. Number 5, Jamie Drysdale, which is Erie, big defenseman, going to be huge for somebody on their blue line. He's Canadian as well. Number 6 is Cole Perfetti from Saginaw Spirit. Same thing, another Canadian on the list. You have another Swedish player at number 7, which is Alexander Holtz from Djurgårdens. Number 8, Marco Rossi from Ottawa. The Ottawa 67s. Would be nice to see him in a Sens jersey. He can stick around in Ottawa. He is Austrian. Number 9, the top-ranked goalie, which is Yaroslav Askarov. He was unreal for Russia at the World Juniors, and I think he's going to be one hell of a goalie in the future if he's trained and brought up properly. Obviously, goalies tend to take a little bit longer to develop, so if he's developed properly, he may turn out to be one hell of a goalie. He is Russian. He plays for SKA 1946 in the KHL, obviously. And then the last of the top 10, according to Tankathon, is Anton Lundell, who's Finnish. He plays for HIFK. So those are some of the names. There are other names like Jack Quinn of the 67s that may end up in top 10 position. And there's quite a few different prospects that you never know. I mean, some players just drop. Some players pop up out of nowhere because they're the player that a certain team was looking for. And even if they're not ranked in the top 10, they may end up a top 10 pick anyways. But anyways, guys, I'm excited for next week to be able to see who gets into the Hockey Hall of Fame and where those draft lottery balls drop. If Ottawa can get 2 picks in the top 3, whether it be 1 and 3 or 2 and 3, I will be super pumped. I will come up with an update after that draft lottery and even after the Hockey Hall of Fame induction, just to give you guys a quick heads up if you haven't seen. Anyways, if you like this video, hit like. If you like it a lot, hit subscribe. And you know what? Share it to all your friends. Thanks for looking out. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time, guys. Have a good one.